الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه أما بعد. يقول المصنف رحمه الله تعالى continuing with كتاب الجامع باب البر والصلة. In this hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, hadith narrated by Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah, Al-Mughira ibn Shu'bah. عن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال إن الله حرم عليكم عقوق الأمهات. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited for you to be disrespectful and showing undutiful behavior toward your mothers. عقوق الأمهات. ووأد البنات, to bury your daughters alive, it was a custom, an ugly custom that they had before in the generation of Arabia at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, in the time of the Jahiliyyah. وكره لكم قال ووأد البنات ومنعا وهات. ومنعا وهات. منعا وهات, we'll explain. منعا, to forbid, to stop, to block. وهات, and give me, when in a way like demanding things from others which are not worth demanding, and so on. We'll explain it inshallah. وَكَرِهَ لَكُمْ قِيلَ وَقَالَ. وَكَرِهَ لَكُمْ قِيلَ وَقَالَ. Allah hates for you that engage in gossip. He said, he didn't say, this thing. And then وَكَثْرَةَ السُّؤَالِ. وَكَثْرَةَ السُّؤَالِ. And also the many questions, asking many questions. And here many questions specifically about people affairs and wasting wealth and so on. قال وإضاعة المال is to waste the wealth and waste one's money and so on. So those has been prohibited in this hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first one قال إن الله حرم عليكم عقوق الأمهات. عقوق الأمهات is to be disrespectful and disobedient to the mothers. Al-Ummahat, to the plural of Ummah, and is a language in the and Ummah is only for those who are sane and human being, because the as a word or word and the name can be applied to many things. Dari, Qur'ani, the mother of the thing, but the true mother that as a mother is Ummah with the singular with the tail. And we say you can be saying that. قال وإنما خصت الأم هنا إظهارا لعظم حقها. And here the Prophet ﷺ specified the mother. Does not mean that the father is excluded, because also it is haram to have عقوق الأب. عقوق الأب is haram. But here when the Prophet ﷺ قال الأمهات, by specifying them to show their great rights on their children, great rights of the children, but not excluding the fathers. قال إظهارا لعظم حقها. And especially in a society when you find that they bury the female daughter alive, then the honoring will be specific to the female. قال عقوق الأمهات ووأد البنات, to link them together. وضابط العقوق المحرم. What is that really, when we say, for example, how someone what are the actions that make someone to be عاقٌ لوالديه? Action that makes someone to be disrespectful and committing this major sin of عقوق. What is the ضابط? الضابط, the principle. الضابط, what are the element that make someone or define the true عقوق? Because it's very important, because we know that this chapter or this topic, or when we're talking about the birr al-walidain or uquq al-walidain, it's sometimes, there is such certain abuse in using it. It's either from the parents or from the children. From the parents, they make the obedience of the parents is something that without it, the child will never even get to paradise. While they are, subhanallah, kind of, doing more than transgression and injustice to their children. فwhat is ضابط العقوق؟ فقال كما نقل خلاصته عن البلقيني وهو أن يحصل من الوالد وأبوين أو أحدهما إيذاء ليس بالهين عرفا. A person he cause harm or bother to his parents, that it is in the custom, known it's bad. So you see here we are relating it to the custom. Orphan, it's not mainly the custom, what is commonly known, that it's not something good. قال بالهين فيخرج من هذا ما إذا حصل من الأبوين أمر أو نهي فخالفهما بما لا يعد في العرف مخالفته عقوقا. Therefore you exclude from all of this anything that the parents they ask from their children and he'll oppose them, and such a position is not known to be, let's say, considered to be a disobedience, something that it hurts, something that is, it cannot be accepted. For example, a child, say, go get me something from the store. So I don't have time, I'm not going to get it. So this is not going to be a major sin because he didn't go, but something that is really caused, it's known to be in the circle or in the society or in the community, something that is bad. That is urf. That's in the urf something bad. Someone, for example, he pushed his father. That's uquq. It's known, it's forbidden to push anybody else. And you do it for your father? That's... قال فخالفهما بما لا يعد في العرف مخالفته عقوقا فلا يكون ذلك عقوقا. If you oppose them in what is commonly known that it's not something to be considered as a disobedience or disrespect, then that's not cause, is not going to be considered as عقوق. وكذا لو كان مثلا على الأبوين دين للولد أو حق شرعي فرافعه إلى الحاكم. For example, if a child, gave a loan to his parents and the father didn't pay and he want to get his money back and he want to sue him, he went to the judge. Is this called uquq? It's not called uquq. قال فلا يكون ذلك عقوقا. This will not be called uquq. Disobedience and a major sin. كما وقع من بعض أولاد الصحابة شكاية الأب إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. As it happened, one of the companions came to complain his father about his father. باحتياجه إلى ماله, or vice versa, that he needed his money or the father needed his money and so on. However, the Prophet ﷺ, when he came to one of the companions complaining, he said, you and your money belongs to your father. But this need to be taken in moderation and taken in a way of fairness, not like the father is going to kind of a tyrant, take all the money of his son and said, you belong to me and your money. You understand? So there is a balance. وعن شكايته ثم قال صاحب الضابط فعلى هذا العقوق أن يؤذي الولد أحد أبويه بما لو فعله مع غير أبويه كان محرما من جملة الصغائر. So he gives us kind of a good principle here. He said the uquq is to harm or to cause hurt the child to his parents with something. If he has done it to someone else, it would have been haram from the sagha'ir. Because there is major sin and there is small sin, the sagha'ir are the small sins. If it's small sin that is haram, someone will have done it to another person, then doing it for the parents, that is a major sin. Okay? I don't have an example, but anyone who's for example, push a person, or a person talk to them and he talked to them back ill. So I said, this is wrong what you have done. It's not a major sin, but it's a sin. If you do the same thing for the parents, it's a major sin. That's a uquq. Understand? So this is the dhabit. This is how it helps us to build a maxim or principle. فَيَكُونُ فِي حَقِّ الْأَبَوَيْنِ كَبِيرًا. So then when you do it to the parents, this becomes a major sin. أو مخالفة الأمر والنهي فيما يدخل فيه الخوف على الولد من فوات نفسه أو عضو من أعضائه. Or also uquq, if the parents, they forbid him to do things and he will not obey them, when they are caring about his life or anything that they're going to have his life in threat, to deny them and to not obey them, that's a uquq, big one, because they care about him. Except when it comes to jihad. If he's going to jihad, then he's obligated to go. أو مخالفتهما في سفر يشق عليهما وليس بفرض أو مخالفتهما في سفر, or to come oppose them, to not be with them or anything that in a trip or a journey that is going to be difficult for them, because he need to be there to help them. So that's given as an example to understand how the uquq. وليس بفرض على الولد أو في غيبة طويلة فيما ليس لطلب علم نافع أو كسب. And also anything that is not obligatory on the child to do, that it might cause harm for the parents. For example, he's going to be absent for years or for a long time. So what is the reason? Are you going to get knowledge? Are you going for work? But if you do not have any of the major reasons that will allow to you or justify this absence, then it is uquq. It is uquq. أو ترك تعظيم الوالدين فإنه لقدم عليه أحدهما ولم يقم. The other aspect also, the way how to respect them, and how when we say respect is only not in words. For example, he given an example here. He gives us an example. He said, if you didn't see your parents for a while, and you come from a journey, or they came after a journey, فإنه لو قدم عليه أحدهما ولم يقم إليه أو قطب في وجهه فإن هذا وإن لم يكن في حق الغير معصية فهو عقوق. If he comes after a trip or a journey and you didn't see them for a while, if you do not stand for them, to welcome them, to venerate them, to things, even this, despite the fact this action, if you don't do it to someone else, this is not a sin. But when it came for the rights of the parents, it is uquq. Or when you come and see them and you have feature of a face of a mad person, or frowny face, that's uquq. Uquq. When you say uff, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uquq. Uquq often is in the frowny face. أو قطب وفإن هذا وإن لم يكن. So these, even that it's this action are not considered sins when they are done for other people, other than the parents, but in the rights or indeed when it comes toward the parents, it is a sin. It is from the uquq. But this is ta'tina dhabit, principle to know the balance. Of course, there is the preference, for example, when it comes to the jihad or anything that is fardu kifaya. There's a collective obligation and there's the individual obligation. If the parents, they will forbid you or stop you on individual obligation, that you have the right to say no. Individual obligation, don't pray. Say no, I have to pray. If they stop you on a collective obligation, collective obligation like to go in the case of the Sahabi of jihad. Collective obligation. There is, a whole army already out there. So when they came to the Prophet ﷺ, The Prophet asked him, have you left behind you anyone? He said, my parents. قال ارجع, go back, ففيهما فجاهد. Go make your jihad in serving your parents. And this is another element that helps us to define what the ukhud. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَإِن جَاهَدَكَ لِتُشْرِكَ بِي وَعَلَىٰ أَن تُشْرِكَ بِي مَا لَيْسَ لَكَ بِهِ. If they, pushing you, forcing you, demanding you, asking you to do any action that opposes Allah's law. Here we're in the individual obligation. Something that is obligatory on you, you have to do it. Of course, the shirk is, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, the highest. But when it comes like parents, Muslim and things, they ask to things to do, not to do these things. So it is obligation, and Allah ordained me to do it. If it's a collective, which is is being taken care by others, then is preferable if you do not convince them to obey them. And it depends, of course. We'll finish with this small one, وَوَأْدُ الْبَنَاتِ. وَأْدُ الْبَنَاتِ, it was, as we have said, one of the most despicable and ugly and action that is so unjust, to bury the female girls alive. And it was not actually general, it's like few of them, it was not common, common to it happened, but it was not that something, tradition that they do it all the time, It depends on certain cases, depends on these people, but it was time of ignorance, and it is haram. And the Prophet ﷺ mentioned the female because that was the fact, that was the reality among the Arab at the time. فَإِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ ذَلِكَ فِي الْجَاهِلِيَّةِ كَرَاهَةً لَهُنَّ. They used to do it because they hate females. And hate females, why? Because the man, for them, قَالَ وَبَنِينَ شُهُودًا, like Al-Walid ibn al-Mughira in Surah Al-Muddathir. To have a children mean like having power. They are around him, has the power, have money, having who defend them, and so on. Even Abdul Muttalib, when he made the dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give him children, he gave him 10 of the children. He said, and the 10th I will give him a sacrifice. Why? Because he was kind of, subhanallah, to not have children, who can't defend him. So the children, the male children, are kind of an army. That's the mentality. Those who are going to have the power. Female cannot do that. It's really ignorance, mentality of ignorance. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قال وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنْبٍ قُتِلَتْ. So Allah subhanallah. This is very difficult question. When the buried alive female will be asked, for what sin have you been killed? So this question, it's not for the infant who died. It's a question, subhanallah, to cast an infinite fear in the heart who did it. You see the language of the Quran. He didn't say why you buried your girl alive. No, you ask the girl, what sin have you done to be buried? Without looking at the criminal, subhanAllah, who did it. It's scary. قيل إن أول من فعله, the first one that have done it, قيس بن عاصم التميمي وكان من العرب من يقتل أولاده مطلقا خشية الفاقة والنفقة. So it has not a tradition, but subhanallah, it has that insecurity. So they used to kill their children because of poverty and because of lack of money to spend on them. And Allah mentioned in the Quran, خَشْيَةَ إِنْفَاقٍ وَمِنْ إِنْفَاقٍ لَا تَقْتُلُوا أَوْلَادَكُمْ. Don't kill them. Then the one who did it because if it's a woman and things, and just to justify it by the money wise or by poverty, it was Qais ibn Asim, and then turned to be وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ custom. أعاذنا الله وإياكم إياه. We'll stop here بإذن الله. منعا وهات. We'll do it next time بإذن الله. والقيل والقال, because are very important aspects that we need to learn from this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, to keep ourselves away from aspects who can, cause perversity in our hearts. And they mean what they say. These things cause perversity in the heart. Jazakumullah khairan wa barakallah. If you have any question,